great group of people, which they don't. They have Jasmine Crockett, a low IQ person. They have AOC's low IQ. You give her an IQ test, have her pass like the exams that I decided to take when I was at Walter Reed. Those are very hard, they're really aptitude tests, I guess, in a certain way, but they're cognitive tests. Let AOC go against Trump. Let Jasmine go against Trump. I don't think Jasmine, the first couple of questions are easy. A tiger, an elephant, a giraffe, When you get up to about 5 or 6, and then when you get up to 10 and 20 and 25, they couldn't come close to answering any of those questions.
Many psychologists have written, Zerlina, about what a moment of national trauma we're in, just in this daily chaos and the toll it's taking on all of us, particularly those like you and I that have to. By the way, you're very kind to say you pass the baton to me, because that's like I hear Chariots of Fire music, and you're like FloJo, and I'm like the I'm like the doofus that drops the baton, and you never want to be photographed next to her in high school.
No.
So I suffer by comparison right after your show, but. But talk about that. I mean, I have one right in front of me here. I have Donald Trump's bullying effect has a trickle down. Here's why that worries therapists. I mean, we are going through a period of, how much of your move had to do with Trump being reelected?
Well, I think that being in the media for 10 years, being in politics for longer than that, there is this pressure that you feel because you're in this industry to be robotic, to always be on, to always be performing, to always know what's going on every second of the day. You can't have any life outside of what you're doing for work. And that's something that I embraced and I was really embodying for the better part of my career. But then when I realized that I was really having some mental health impacts. We have a Mental Health Monday segment because I recognize that the people that are consuming this news need some type of support and resources and advice on how to not lose their freaking minds as they live through what one of the most traumatizing moments in American history. Now, one of the things that I think is important to note is that it's not just Trump that is the reason we're all traumatized. We lived through a global pandemic, and we actually buried all of that knowledge and memory for some reason because it was too hard to deal with. People lost their family members, people lost their livelihoods during the global pandemic, and it affected the whole world. And because we memory whole states, it allowed Donald Trump to come back on the scene, even though he bungled the handling of the pandemic. We are all traumatized by all that we saw go on with the mishandling of the pandemic, the loss of our family members, but also the uncertainty of whether or not we would be okay in the present and the future. And I think that, part of what we don't do as Americans enough is sit and reflect on things that might make us feel uncomfortable. And so, I think that one of the reasons why Donald Trump is now the president again is because we are all traumatized. A healthy, mentally well country does not elect someone like Donald Trump 2 times if everything is working properly.
And to your point about his, medical advice during COVID, like shove a UV light up your ass and drink bleach. The fact that he's tweeting from Japan in the middle of the night again, women don't take Tylenol, and you're just like, who is still listening to this crazy person for medical advice?
Unfortunately, too many people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are people that injected bleach.
And you gotta talk a little bit. We just played some AOC. We have some Jasmine Crockett. Being a woman of color right now in America. Trump is so obviously racist and misogynist. Just first of all, it's hilarious him challenging them to a cognitive exam. They're literally like less than half his age. And secondly, as we keep saying, it's not an IQ test. He doesn't even seem to understand it's not an IQ test. It's when doctors know you're in cognitive decline, right?
Right. He always admits the quiet part out loud. He always admits the worst piece of information. And then we're supposed to take him seriously when he's talking about serious world events. But I think that, one of the good things about his obvious racism, sexism, and misogyny, in my opinion, is that we no longer have to debate that. I no longer debate that. I no longer say here are the reasons why I believe Donald Trump is racist, sexist, and misogynistic. The evidence is so obvious and clear based on everything he's saying and everything his administration is doing. Because when they got into power, the first thing they wanted to do was get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion. hundreds of thousands of Black women specifically have been laid off from their jobs, whether it be in diversity, equity, and inclusion roles or in the federal government. And that is because they, in my opinion, feel threatened by the brilliance of these Black women.
Yeah.
And they don't want to have to compete.
Yeah.
You know, if you wanted to compete, you wouldn't remove all of these qualified and experienced and intelligent women of color from their roles. But
and also,
I think they're scared.
Yeah, he is just blurting all the quiet stuff out loud. Is he just even saying he had an MRI? Everybody in the country's like, you don't get an MRI unless there's something wrong, right? I mean, he's just like, the penis enlargement didn't work. Oops, what did I say? Like, he just, it's like there's nothing hidden anymore. All the corruption, I mean, I can imagine you just looking at a Newsweek that you cover on your show. Did you ever in your life think, oh, you knocked down the entire East Wing? You were there a lot.
Yeah.
The East Wing. It's just on top of you can't even remember all the layers of corruption and illegality by the end of a week, can you?
No, I can't. And every single day I make a list under the headline "Destruction of Democracy," and I include all of these types of things. These allegations of corruption. But I was just chatting on my show with Professor Marcy Shore, and she said something that I've been thinking about since the conversation this morning, and that is that one of the things that Trump benefits from is the fact that we are always waiting for the corruption to be exposed. So we're waiting for the media, investigative journalists to get to the bottom of it, maybe congressional committees to get to the bottom of something and reveal some truth that shows that there's corruption going on, and then we're going to react to that. The difference is in the Trump administration, the corruption is in plain sight. The corruption is happening. They're making money off the presidency with their crypto scam. They're making money off the presidency because this ballroom that he's building, this gilded ballroom, is privately funded. And we're like, okay, that seems maybe not legal, but we don't have any recourse to actually investigate any of this stuff because Republicans aren't even in D.C. working. So there's no oversight of the alleged corruption. And it's just all in plain sight. There's nothing being hidden. There's no secret that needs to be unveiled to prove the corruption.
Everybody says it's like Nixon every day if there was Twitter tweeting out the Watergate tapes. And there's nothing to do journalism about anymore. Congress has just ceded its authority. I mean, look at this shutdown. I mean, the first, second, and third longest shutdowns in history under Donald Trump. And here we go again. I mean, how do you see this ending?
Well, I don't know how it's going to end. I really don't know how the shutdown's going to end, and I don't know how this Trump era is going to end. I do know that we're on the pathway to end the entire democracy, full stop, and our ability for our federal government to actually function. I think that the gridlock and the inability for Republicans to actually govern and do anything for the benefit of the American public is the problem at the core. And in the meantime, while the government is shut down, and, in my opinion, I say this on my show every day, I don't really believe that Donald Trump is running the government. He's not presidenting. He's play acting the role. He's performing what he thinks a president should be doing. And Stephen Miller and Russell Vought and Steve Bessent, other folks in the administration, they're the ones actually running the government. Yeah. They're the ones that are actually implementing the agenda laid out in the 800 pages of Project 2025. And so they're giving him the printouts, color photos of his ballroom. So they're giving him his pet projects that he can, hold up the show and tell, because
it's like
he's
the thing you give your toddler to do while the adults are working.
They gave him some busy work, and he's not actually running the ins and outs of what the government is actually doing. And, I feel like that's actually the bigger scandal that isn't talked about enough. I mean, the mainstream media is out to lunch, in my opinion. They are not doing their constitutionally expected role covering the dismantling of American democracy and the rise of authoritarianism in this moment. They cover this like it is a show, and Donald Trump is ready to put that show on as a performance.
I mean, I know it rankles me. I know you probably even more so that, when you speak of women of color, Kamala Harris predicted absolutely every single thing that has happened. When you talk Project 2025, as you just met, she said, "You believe they wrote this down?" I mean, that's what's like another salt in the wound of where we are is that and Hillary before her predicted absolutely every single thing that's happened. And meanwhile, Ireland has just elected their third female president, I think.
Yeah, that's the story the media does not want to tell. That's the story the media does not want to cover. I mean, I was just in London last week to see the vice president in conversation with Chiminetta Adichie for her book.
Yeah.
And one of the things that people even around me on the line and seated around me, most of them were British people that were speaking. I you know,
Yeah.
determined that from their accents. But they all were like, how did she not
Nothing,
win? And
nothing,
I just wanted
nothing
to like,
gets past you.
I know. And I wanted to like turn to them and explain because I'm like, I actually know. But the undercovered story of the entire Trump era is the fact that America is a misogynistic and sexist country, in addition to being a racist country, with that in its founding and origin. And we have never elected a woman president. And it is not because of the specific, you know, bad qualities, if you will, of those women that were, you know, did rise to the top of the Democratic ticket. It's not the shortcomings of those women. It's about us as a country. Donald Trump has only won elections against women. No one's talking about that.
Yeah, I did an event with Governor Andy Beshear this weekend, who I think is really impressive. I'm glad Kamala Harris said she may get in. Obviously, Gavin Newsom. Gotta get your take on what you know. I guess we'll have that big messy primary everybody wanted.
No, I mean, look, having read Kamala Harris's book, I do not think the vice president is running for president again. It's not. I don't know if you've read the book, but it is quite honest. And she's critical of many, many different people, many different parts of the Democratic Party and institution. And I personally, this is just my opinion, do not think she's running for president again. Now, with that said, I think that she has a level of goodwill within the American electorate and within the Democratic Party that if she were to decide to jump into the race in 2028, that there would be already a built-in level of support for her. And maybe she would finally have the time, if she announces, you know, after the midterm elections in 2026, to actually build even more goodwill, because she would actually have time. That's one of the themes in the book. I mean, when you read it, you realize, you know, 107 days, that goes by in the blink of an eye. I remember there was one part in the book where I'm like, wait, we're already on day 36? Like, I just started reading this book. I'm like, wait a minute. And I think that urgency, and also the fact that if you know, if I get to chat with her about the book at any point, one of the things I'm going to focus on is something that people have not asked her in any of the interviews or conversations about the book, which is the amount of things that happen in the 107 days that she had nothing to do with, that were completely out of her control. And that is something that I think is underappreciated, because a lot of people are critical of her and they don't realize that in 107 days, there were at least half of those days, there were significant things happening that she didn't have anything to do with. And so to criticize her is to sort of miss the whole point.
I'm so team Kamala, and I know when you get to talk to her, you will say, and you know, you really ought to talk to my friend Stephanie Miller as well, Madam Vice President.
I will do that.
As my teammate, I know that you will.
Yes.
No, I love her. Hey, one last question before you go. Are you concerned? Because I have to say, I have some concerns about what happened in 2024. And this headline, California will monitor DOJ's election monitors. So, I mean, do you have concerns about the midterms?
I absolutely have concerns about the midterms. I think it's related to the fact that we already have the military in a number of blue cities around the country. I think it was Governor J.B. Pritzker who pointed this out. He's not the only one, but he highlighted the fact that basically putting the military in American cities right now, a year ahead of the midterms, is to normalize the sight of them being there. So if there were any speculation by this administration that there's something nefarious going on with the elections, that putting the military literally in their uniforms outside of polling locations in Democratic cities and states won't be something that we're shocked by, because we've been used to it for over a year. So I am concerned about the midterm elections. I'm also concerned about the fact that, you know, with all of the moves towards Venezuela right now, and the fact that Donald Trump in the Oval Office, you know, noted that Zelensky was a, quote, wartime president and there are no elections during wartime. I think a lot of times he's telling us exactly where his mind is at. And again, he is not the one in charge of this administration. He is not the one in the weeds. He is not the one coming up with the legal arguments or the justification for a lot of the things that this administration is doing. That's Stephen Miller, in my opinion. And so it's really a realistic thing to be worried about the midterms not going off the way that we
Zerlina
normally would have them.
leaves us with that uplifting thought that Pee Wee German is in charge of America. The brilliant, the beautiful, the intellectual ninja, total smoke show from Mornings with Zerlina. This is, that's the Chariots of Fire music. This is when she passes the baton to me. The Flo Jo of Progressive Radio passes me the baton, and then I drop it, and I just,
And then you wander around like a Roomba.
wander around. I stumble around for a while.
Like a broken
But then I
Roomba.
get with it eventually. But, you can't compare me to her.
Yeah.
We love you, Flojo. Mornings with Zerlina right here on Sirius XM Progress. We love you. We miss you. Arrivederci, yeah?
Arrivederci.
Yeah, go eat that pizza that Julia Roberts ate in that.
Oh, yeah, no.
Eat, pray, love, because that
But
was...
there's so much more here in Sicily, even than pizza and pasta. So that's one of the reasons I love it so much.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Anytime,
Thanks,
honey.
Zerlina.
There she goes, our teammate.
I wanted to talk to you both, Yahweh and Yesh, because I wrote a book, and it's about you guys, but it's really about some of your fans, the mean ones, the racist ones, the homophobe ones, the ones who don't like women. You guys come off really well in the book. Jesus, you come off really good in this book.
Yeah, I've heard that when people talk about the Bible, they tell me that God, you come off really well.
Said no one ever.
Jesus comes off really well. Yeah, no, God, you're very impressive, God. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but you there's some moments, Almighty, where you're kind of the alcoholic step God. You know what I'm saying? But Jesus, he's chill throughout. Like he's proof of evolution.
But John, people have been twisting my message, right? And that's what this book is about.
It really is, Jesus. I mean, I've gone through this book of yours many times. You never said anything against the gays. You never said anything against women having to be forced to be pregnant. I mean, you're not against abortion. You're against the death penalty, Jesus. I know that. You're like your dad in that you tell us to welcome the stranger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the right people are twisting my message left and right, and we can't take it anymore. So we're so excited to have this book, a really rock solid resource to show people what the Bible actually says. And that's why we love you, John. You're spreading our true good word.
Simon & Schuster's Avid Reader Press presents Separation of Church and Hate, the bold, hilarious new book from John Fugelsang, available September 9th and on sale now at your local independent bookstore or your favorite non-evil website.